Dumbo, Timothy Q. Mouse, the monkeys, the lion tamer and the lion, the bears, the band, the horses. Dumbo and his new act. The circus was in town. Camels, horses, elephants, and bears stepped out of the circus train. Strong men put up the big tent. Everyone was busy getting ready for the first show. Everyone, that is, except little Dumbo the flying elephant. "Hey, Dumbo, why so glum?" said Timothy Mouse to his friend. "Oh, I know," said Timothy. "You're tired of performing the same old Dumbo the flying elephant act, aren't you? I suppose you want to try something new, something more exciting." Dumbo nodded his head. Dumbo and Timothy stepped into the big tent. They saw the magnificent white horses rehearsing their act. Dumbo loved watching the horses prance around the ring in their fancy headdresses and saddles. "I think you'd be good at this," said Timothy to Dumbo. "You can be Dumbo the elegant elephant." "Perfect," remarked Timothy as he fastened a feathered headdress onto Dumbo. Then Timothy put a fancy saddle on Dumbo. "Now just keep your head up," instructed Timothy. "You'll be the world's most elegant elephant." Dumbo stepped into the ring with the horses. The monkeys giggled. They thought he looked silly. Dumbo didn't pay any attention to the monkeys, though. He just tried his best to prance along in a graceful way. But then Dumbo tripped over his ears. He stumbled and fell. Timothy rushed over. "Don't worry, Dumbo," said Timothy. "We'll find a new act that's more your style." Dumbo and Timothy walked over to where the lion tamer and the lion were rehearsing their act. "Hey, how about Dumbo the fearless elephant?" Timothy asked Dumbo. "I like the sound of that." "Come on, Dumbo, let's try it," said Timothy. "Of course, we won't use fire until we're good at it," he added. As usual, the monkeys tried to get into the act. They turned up dressed in firefighter costumes and carrying a hose. Dumbo and Timothy ignored the silly monkeys. "Now start running and jump straight through the hoop," coached Timothy. Dumbo ran and jumped just as he was instructed, but his ears didn't fit through the hoop. "Oh dear," Timothy exclaimed. "It's a good thing we didn't light the fire." As soon as the monkeys heard the word fire, they rushed over to Dumbo and sprayed him with water from the hose. Timothy dried his sad, wet friend. "Don't worry, Dumbo," he comforted. "Keep trying. We'll find a new act that's more your style." The two friends went back into the big tent. The trapeze artists were rehearsing their act. Dumbo and Timothy watched the performers swing from trapeze to trapeze with the greatest of ease. "Now this is an act where your ears won't get in the way," said Timothy excitedly. "Dumbo, the acrobatic elephant. Has a nice ring to it, don't you think?" Dumbo and Timothy waited for the performers to finish. Then Dumbo flew to the platform and grabbed a trapeze. "1, 2, 3, go!" shouted Timothy from the opposite platform. Dumbo held onto the trapeze and swung through the air. After a few seconds, Timothy pushed another trapeze towards him. The little elephant grabbed the second trapeze with his trunk, causing him to stop in mid-air. Dumbo was stuck. "Just let go of one trapeze," shouted Timothy. Dumbo held tight and seemed confused. The monkeys watched and chattered from the net below. "Let go!" shouted Timothy. Suddenly, much to Timothy's alarm, Dumbo let go of both trapezes at the same time. Dumbo fell towards the net below. When Dumbo landed in the net, it sank way, way down. Then, whoosh! The net sprang way, way up. Dumbo sailed towards the top of the tent. The monkeys bounced and shrieked with laughter. Just when Dumbo reached the top of the tent, his ears filled with air. He began to fly. "Way to go, Dumbo," called a much relieved Timothy. The monkeys cheered. Back on the ground, Timothy tried to cheer up Dumbo. "Don't worry, Dumbo," reassured Timothy. "We'll find a new act that's more your style." "We'll just keep trying," promised Timothy. "You never know when the next great idea is going to come along." Dumbo smiled happily. Just then, the bear family entered the ring. The baby was learning a new act too. He was trying to roll a barrel while balancing on it. It wasn't easy, but at last he succeeded. Then Timothy and Dumbo watched as the entire bear family rehearsed their act. The bears balanced and juggled while riding their unicycles. Timothy stroked his chin thoughtfully. "What do you think about trying this act? You can be Dumbo, the balancing elephant." So Dumbo tried it. At first, he was a little wobbly. But then, with patience and the advice of his friend, Dumbo gained his balance and began to pedal. "Way to go, Dumbo!" cheered Timothy. Dumbo rode proudly across the ring. But Dumbo forgot to watch where he was going. And he didn't know how to stop. "Dumbo, look out!" shouted Timothy. But it was too late. Bang! The unicycle hit the side of the ring. Dumbo was thrown off. He sailed through the air and landed in the snack bar with a crash. Poor Dumbo wasn't hurt, but he was a mess. The monkeys thought Dumbo looked extremely funny. "Oh dear," fussed Timothy, trying to wipe off the mess. "You need a good bath. Come on, it's almost showtime." Dumbo soaked while Timothy scrubbed his back. They could hear the audience arriving. Excited children's voices filled the night air. From the tub, Dumbo and Timothy could see the band warming up. As usual, the monkeys were fooling around. One put a banana into the tuba. When the tuba player blew a note, the banana flew out and was caught by another monkey. Dumbo and Timothy laughed and laughed. Then Dumbo had an idea. When the band left to change into their uniforms, Dumbo filled his trunk with soapy water. Then he poured the soapy water into the band's instruments. Soon after, the band returned. They picked up their instruments and began to march into the circus ring. "Time to put on your costume, Dumbo," Timothy said. "Your act is first, right after the band plays the opening number." Dumbo and Timothy watched the band begin to play. With every note, bubbles poured out of the instruments. The audience loved it. Then, Dumbo filled his trunk with soapy water once again. "Great idea!" exclaimed Timothy when he realized what his friend was up to. With that, Dumbo flew into the circus ring. The audience cheered wildly as Dumbo soared out over them. He blew bubbles until the circus tent was filled with them. The children were especially delighted. They clapped and waved and tried to catch the bubbles. "Wow," said Timothy when Dumbo's performance was over. "You're Dumbo, the flying elephant, with bubbles. I think we found a new act that's just your style."